My people, do you know that greed blinds the eyes? What comes too easy can destroy too fast. No matter how small your blessing, protect it, grow it with patience, and never use darkness to feed your future. Let me tell you this story. In a small town, not too far from here, there lived a woman called Mama Efe. She was not a poor woman, but she was never satisfied. She had a small restaurant by the roadside where people came to eat rice, beans, yam, and pepper soup. But business was not moving the way she wanted. Every day, she would sit at the corner of her shop, watching customers pass by to eat in other places. The smoke from her pot would rise, but nobody cared. Her chairs were empty, her food was wasting, and her pocket was dry. One evening, as she was closing her shop, she spoke to herself. She said, "No, this cannot continue. I must find a way. I must find a way to make people rush my food. I must find a way to make my shop full every day." That night, Mama Efe could not sleep. She kept rolling on her mat, thinking on how she would attract more customers. Then an old memory flashed into her head. A story her grandmother once told her. A story about a secret cooking pot that could make people addicted to food. Her grandmother had warned her, "Never try it. It is dangerous. It is evil. It will give you customers, but it will also give you tears." But Mama Efe was desperate. She said, "What is tears? Is it not better to cry with money in my hand than to laugh with empty pockets? I will find that secret." The next day, she went to visit a woman called Iyaloma, an old herbalist who lived in the outskirts of the town. Mama Efe had heard rumors that this woman knew things that normal people should not know. When she entered Iya's house, she explained her problem. She said, "Mama, I want more customers in my restaurant. I want people to fight just to eat my food. Tell me what to do." Iya looked at her and laughed. "Be careful what you are asking for. The pot you are looking for can give you wealth, but it can also destroy you. Do you still want it?" Mama Efe did not even think. He shouted, "Yes, give it to me. I don't care about anything else." The old woman went inside and brought out a small black pot, no bigger than a child's head. The pot was smooth, shiny, and strange. She placed it on the floor and whispered words into it. Then she told Mama Efe, "This pot is not ordinary. If you cook with it, your food will never taste the same again. People will come like ants rushing sugar. But listen carefully. Never let anybody see this pot. Never tell anyone how your food became so sweet. And most importantly, never eat from the food yourself." Mama Efe's eyes widened. "Why not eat?" he asked. Iya smiled sadly because the pot fits others with sweetness, but it fits the owner with sorrow. That is the rule. If you eat from it, your soul will pay the price. But Mama Efe did not care. She carried the pot home, hiding it under her wrapper. The next day, she decided to try it. She placed the black pot on fire and poured in rice. As the rice cooked, the strange aroma filled the air. The smell was different, stronger than any spice she had ever used. It was as if the food was calling people by itself. But as she finished cooking, people started entering her restaurant, sniffing the air like hungry dogs. They shouted, "Mama Efe, what are you cooking? Give us, give us." By the time she served them, they were licking their plates and begging for more. Some even ordered twice. That day, her shop was full from morning till night. She made more money in one day than she had ever made in 1 week. She laughed to herself and said, "Ah, this is it. This is the life I wanted." Days after day, she cooked with the secret pot. and true to the old woman's word, her restaurant became the most popular in town. People left other food sellers and rushed only to her. Some even fought over seats in her shop. Her name spread like wildfire. Everyone was talking about Mama Efe's food. But my people, when something looks too sweet, it always has a bitter side. The food sellers in the town started complaining. Their customers had abandoned them. They grew jealous and angry. Some accused Mama Efe of using charm. Some even tried to confront her, but she would only smile and say, "It is not my fault that my food is sweeter than yours." Her husband, Baba Efe, started noticing strange things. He saw how his wife always cooked with a small pot that she never allowed anyone to touch. Anytime he tried to ask, he shouted at him, "Stay out of my business." Even her daughter, little Efe, noticed the strange pot. The girl once tried to touch it, but Mama Efe slapped her hand and screamed, "Never touch that pot." One night, Mama Efe began to have strange dreams. She could see shadows eating from her pot, laughing and clapping. Sometimes, he would wake up and hear whispers in her kitchen. But in the morning, the money she counted for her sales would silence her fears. Her customers wanted more and more food. Some became addicted. They would refuse to eat anywhere else. Even when her price increased, they kept coming. But the more money Mama Efe made, the more careless he became. He stopped hiding the pots carefully. He began to boast in secret, saying, "Let them suspect me. They cannot catch me." But my people, the secret is like smoke. No matter how you hide it, one day it will escape and fill the air. One bright afternoon, something strange happened to Mama Efe's restaurant. Her shop was, as usual, full of customers, shouting and laughing while they ate. The aroma of her food filled the whole street. Even travelers passing by would stop their journey just to taste her fries. But in the middle of that crowd was a man nobody knew. He wore a simple white cloth and carried a staff. He looked like an ordinary traveler, but his eyes were sharp, as if he could see through people's souls. He sat down quietly and ordered food. When Mama Efe served him, he tasted it slowly. Then he smiled and shook his head. He looked around at the other customers who were eating like hungry lions and said softly, "This is not ordinary food." Mama Efe heard him and her heart skipped. He quickly forced a smile and said, "Baba, eat your food in peace. My food is sweet because I cook it with love." The man did not argue. He only looked at her deeply and said, "A pot that feeds with sweetness but hides sorrow. Do you know the end of such a thing?" Mama Efe pretended not to hear. She quickly turned away, but her hands were shaking. My people, who was this man? How did he know? That night, Mama Efe could not sleep. The man's word kept echoing in her ears. But again, when she counted her money, her heart became strong. She said, "Let him talk. Money is what matters." The next day, the crowd doubled. People were fighting to get food from her shop. One woman even fainted because she has not eaten Mama Efe's food since morning. That was how powerful the pot had become. But the trouble started when one of her customers, a young man, collapsed while eating. His eyes rolled back, his hand shook, and foam came out of his mouth. The whole restaurant shouted in fear. They carried him outside. People began to whisper, could it be that Mama Efe is using juju? Could it be that her food has a secret? Mama Efe quickly denied it. She said, "No, he only fainted because of hunger. My food is clean. My food is pure." He even gave out free plates that day just to calm people down. But deep inside, her fear was growing. Later that night, as she was washing the black pot, something terrifying happened. She heard a voice. Yes, my people. A voice came from the pot. It whispered, "Feed them, feed them, feed them. The more they eat, the more we take." Mama Efe dropped the pot in shock. She screamed and covered her ears, but the voice laughed. The pot shook on its own, as if something was living inside it. From that day, Mama Efe was no longer at peace. She started hearing whispers all the time. Sometimes when she was cooking, she felt invisible hands stirring the food with her. Sometimes when she closed her eyes, she saw dark shadows sitting in her restaurant, eating with her customers. But she was trapped. She could not stop cooking with the pot because she had already tested money and fame. If she stopped, she would lose everything. One evening, her husband, Baba Efe, came home very hungry. He shouted, "Woman, tell me the truth. What kind of pot are you hiding in that kitchen? People are talking in the market. They say you are using charm. Even the church people are asking questions." Mama Efe's eyes turned red. He shouted back, "Leave me alone. Are you not enjoying the money? Are you not eating from the riches? Keep quiet and let me be." But Baba Efe was not satisfied. He decided to find out the truth by himself. That same night, when Mama Efe was sleeping, he sneaked into the kitchen. He opened the cupboard where she always hid the black pot. My people, what he saw nearly made his heart stop. The pot was moving on its own. Yes, it was shaking like something alive. And inside, he could see a thick, black liquid bubbling, even though no fire was under it. Faces were foaming in the liquid, smiling and whispering. He dropped the cupboard and ran out, shouting, "Jesus, Jesus, what kind of evil is this?" Mama Efe woke up in panic. She ran into the kitchen and saw what her husband had done. Her secret was open. The next day, Baba Efe told the neighbors what he had seen. He told the pastor. He told everyone who cared to listen. People started suspecting her strongly. Some even stopped coming to her restaurant. But the strange thing was this: even those who wanted to stop could not stop. The pot had tied them. They would complain about Mama Efe, but by afternoon, they would be back at her shop, begging for food. This made the suspicion even stronger. People began to say, "Something is wrong. This is not normal hunger. This is witchcraft." One night, as Mama Efe was about to sleep, the black pot began to glow in the darkness. The voice came again, louder this time. "The people are watching you. Someone must pay. Choose quickly, your husband or your child." Mama Efe froze in fear. She screamed, "No, no, leave my family alone." But the voice only laughed. That night, after the black pot spoke, Mama Efe could not close her eyes. The words kept ringing in her ears. "Choose quickly, your husband or your child." She sat on her bed, sweating, breathing heavily. Her husband was snoring beside her. Her little daughter was sleeping innocently in the next room. Mama Efe held her head and cried, "Oh God, what have I done? What kind of covenant have I entered?" But instead of stopping, she wiped her tears and said, "I cannot go back now. If I stop cooking with this pot, all my customers will vanish. My money will vanish, and people will laugh at me. No, I will continue. Maybe the voice was only a dream." The following day, something terrible happened. As little Efe was coming back from school, she suddenly fainted on the road. Neighbors rushed and carried her to the hospital. The doctor checked and shook his head. He said, "This child is weak. It is as if her spirit is being drained." Mama Efe screamed and held her daughter, but deep down she knew the truth. The pot had chosen her. That night, as she cooked in her kitchen, she heard the whisper again. Only this time, she heard her daughter's faint voice. inside the pot, crying for help. Mama Efe dropped the spoon and staggered back. "No, this cannot be happening," he shouted. But the pot only bubbled and laughed. From that day, Mama Efe's life became like fire. Her daughter grew weaker and weaker. She could no longer eat properly. She would wake up at night, crying that she saw dark shadows pulling her. Baba Efe was angry. He said, "Woman, this is your fault. You brought a curse into this family. I told you to stop." But Mama Efe refused. He shouted back, "If I stop, we will lose everything. Don't you see? Look at the money, look at the fame. Just endure, our child will be fine." But she was lying to herself. One evening, the mysterious man in white who had visited her restaurant returned. He entered quietly and sat down and ordered food again. And when Mama Efe brought it, he did not touch it. He only looked at her and said, "Woman, you are killing yourself slowly. Do you think the spirits give freely? They are collecting from your blood." Mama Efe trembled. He begged him, "Please, Baba, help me. What should I do?" The man shook his head. "The day you accepted that pot, you opened a door. To close it, you must give it back. But giving it back will not be easy. Are you ready to fight for your soul?" Mama Efe cried, Yes, I will do anything just to save my child." The man nodded. He said, "Tomorrow night, bring the pot to the town square. But know this, the spirit will not let you go easily." That night, Mama Efe could not rest. He kept staring at the pot, shaking in fear. She knew that what the man said was true, but the pot was also powerful. If she let it go, she would lose everything. The next day, word spread around town. People were whispering that Mama Efe was about to be exposed. Some were excited, others were afraid. At midnight, Mama Efe carried the black pot under the wrapper and went to the town square. The man in white was already there, standing in the middle of the open ground. The moon was shining bright, the wind was cold, and the whole place was silent. When Mama Efe placed the pot on the ground, the man raised his staff and began to chant prayer. Suddenly, the pot began to shake violently. A dark smoke came out of it, filling the air with a terrible and horrible smell. Strange voices began to cry, laugh, and scream all at once. Mama Efe fell on the ground, covering her ears. Ah, they are coming for me," she cried. The man shouted, "Stand up, woman. You must reject it with your own mouth. Say it. Say you no longer want this covenant." But as Mama Efe opened her mouth, something strange happened. The smoke rose higher and formed into a tall shadow. The shadow spoke with a voice like thunder. "He is ours. He begged for us. He cooked with us. He fed with us. He cannot escape." The people in the town who had gathered around began to scream and run. But the man in white stood firm. He lifted his staff higher and shouted, "Light will always defeat darkness. Woman, speak now or remain bound forever." Mama Efe was shaking, her lips trembling. She wanted to speak, but the shadow grabbed her throat. She struggled, tears falling from her eyes. Then she looked and saw her daughter standing at the edge of the crowd, weak and almost lifeless. With the last strength in her, Mama Efe shouted, "I reject you. I reject this pot. Take your darkness and leave me." Immediately, the pot cracked. A loud thunder rolled across the sky. The shadow screamed and disappeared into the night. The pot shattered into pieces on the ground, black smoke rising into the air and vanishing. Mama Efe collapsed, gasping for breath. The man in white lifted his staff and prayed over her. Slowly, her daughter's strength began to return. The girl opened her eyes and whispered, "Mama." But my people, don't think that was the end. No, because when Mama Efe stood up, she looked at her hands and saw they were stained black, as if ashes had marked her forever. The man in white shook his head and sadly said, "The pot is gone, but the price is not finished. You will live, but you will carry this mark as a reminder of your greed." From that day, everyone in town knew what had happened. Mama Efe's restaurant became empty. No one wanted to eat her food anymore. She had lost every fame, her wealth, and her pride. But she was alive. Her daughter was alive, and she has learned a bitter lesson. The next morning, people gathered at her restaurant. Some came out of curiosity, some to mock her, and some to confirm rumors. The chairs were empty, the tables were dusty, and her once famous aroma had vanished into thin air. Mama Efe sat quietly at the door, looking like a shadow of herself. She no longer had customers rushing, no more laughter of plates and spoon dashing, no more money falling into her wrapper. All that remained was silence. Her husband stood beside her, shaking his head. You see what greed had cost. You had small, but you wanted two more. Now everything is gone. Mama Efe did not argue. Tears rolled down her face as she remembered the night of whisper, the shadows in her dreams, and sickness of her daughter, and the shame of being exposed. But my people, even when a person escapes fire, smoke will still follow them. Strange things continue to happen to Mama Efe. Every night, she would dream of the pot. Even though it was broken, she would see it in her sleep, calling her name. Sometimes, she would wake up screaming, her hands blackened with ash that disappeared by morning. Her daughter, little Efe, also carried scars. Though she was stronger now, she often had nightmares. She would wake up crying, saying she saw dark figures chasing her, trying to pull her back. The man in white returned once more. He stood at their door and told her, "You are free, but freedom is not the same as forgetting. The spirit will always try to return. Guard yourself with truth, humility, and prayers. If not, you will fall back." Then he disappeared, never to be seen again. From then, Mama Efe tried to rebuild her life. She returned to cooking the ordinary way, without the black pot, but people never trusted her again. Whenever they passed her restaurant, they would whisper, "This is the woman who fed people with darkness." Some even crossed the road to avoid her. Her money dried up. Her shop collapsed. She was forced to sell firewood by the roadside just to survive. One evening, as Mama Efe was walking home from the market, he heard laughter behind her. When she turned, she saw a young woman cooking by the roadside. Crowds of people were pushing and rushing to her pot, shouting and fighting to get food. The aroma was too sweet, too strong, just like before. Mama Efe's eyes widened. We went closer and looked at the pot this young woman was using. Her heart froze. It was the same black pot, the one she thought had been destroyed. She staggered back, trembling. No, it cannot be. I saw it shatter. I saw it turn to ashes. But there it was, whole again, sitting on another fire, feeding new people. The voices in her head began to laugh. That night, Mama Efe could not sleep. She kept asking herself, was it truly broken, or did the darkness only move to another victim? And my people, that is how evil works. It never really dies. It only looks for a new heart that is greedy enough to welcome it. Mama Efe grew old with that knowledge haunting her. She never became rich again, but she lived long enough to warn others. Whenever she saw young women starting businesses, she would tell them, do not seek shortcut. Do not chase what looks too sweet, because every pot of darkness will one day spill sorrow. And so, the story of Mama Efe became a lesson in the town. Parents told their children, traders told their apprentices, pastors told their members. They all said, if you eat sweetness that does not belong to you, one day you will taste the bitterness that is meant for you. That is the end of the story, my people. But before I close, let me ask you, if you were Mama Efe, what would you have chosen? The poverty with peace or the wealth with sorrow?